This Xbox update is a solution to a problem we don't have. What is up, y'all? I am Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. The latest news, rumors, games, accessories, pretty much anything I want to talk about as long as it's about Xbox in some way. And in today's video, we're going to talk about whether or not we truly need this Xbox update. After that, we'll talk about whether or not we can expect PlayStation games on the next Xbox console, this surprising bit of news that is validating Xbox's multi-platform approach. And speaking of Xbox going multi-platform, we'll wrap up the video talking about what franchise we can expect to make the jump to PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switch 2. This week, it seems like the Xbox insiders are hard at work testing out another update for us yet again. Those brave insiders making sure to take on these sometimes bugged builds so we can have a better experience on all our consoles. As part of this latest Alpha Skip Ahead insider preview, Microsoft is testing out Xbox Game Hubs, which is this hub that will display a variety of information when you click on a game tile on your console. Tom Warren over at The Verge posted a sample video of what this would look like, and it's looking like with Game Hubs, when you click on a game tile, it'll take you to this page that it has the game, it has all of your achievements, it has the game rating in case you forgot about that and you want to remind yourself. It'll display any screenshots or clips you recorded of this specific game, and also any available DLC that you can buy for the game. And the one thing that everyone seems to be hung up on since Tom Warren posted this video is that it's going to take an extra button if you want to start and play the game. Can you believe it? If you click on the game, it's not just going to go to the game anymore. It's going to take you to this page, and then you'll have to expend even more calories clicking the button again to make sure that you play the game. Windows Central is calling this Game Hubs thing Steam-like. I don't get why Steam needed to be dragged into this again. I will admit, yes, it does sort of function similarly to a page you would see on Steam, sure. But you know what else it's also like besides Steam? The Game Hub stuff that pops up on the Xbox PC app. Like, I don't want Xbox to be more like Steam. I like my Xbox the way it is. It'd be cool if Steam was on the next Xbox, sure, but that's a separate thing. I want my Xbox stuff to be separate. The other weird thing about this is that it activates no matter where you click on the game tile, whether it's on your home dashboard or in your My Games and Apps section. Apparently, the only place where it doesn't activate is if you click on the game from the guide button. I don't think it's that big of a deal that you'll have to press an extra button in order to access your game, but it is kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. You see, when it comes to my Xbox dashboard, when it comes to these features, less is more for me. And leading up into the whole big redesign that they just did for the dashboard, that's what I kept saying I wanted. Less ads, let me look at my beautiful aesthetic dynamic background, smaller tiles or just consolidated up at the top, I don't care. And this feels unnecessary, it feels like bloat. I'm really hoping once they roll this out, if they ever do, that you can toggle it on and off. Because while it doesn't deeply personally offend me, I just don't think it's necessary. The only reason why I think they would roll this out to all consoles is to push any in-game purchases. Give you one more reminder before you head into the game. Hey, you can buy this, you can buy these skins, you can buy this DLC. Speaking of Xbox and Steam, now yes, there obviously has been a lot of chatter linking Steam and the next Xbox consoles that are rumored to be coming out in 2027. That's because the prevailing rumor is that both the handheld and the console proper are going to be more like a Windows console hybrid. And just like any other Windows device, it would be capable of running Steam as a game launcher. If Steam functions similarly on the next Xbox as it does on people's PCs, this would give next-gen Xbox owners the opportunity to play Sony-published games like Spider-Man, God of War 2018, thus throwing just another crazy twist, wrinkle, whatever you want to call it, in this whole weird multi-platform console-agnostic future that we're Steam to be heading towards, at least as Xbox fans. And while yes, all that stuff is rumor conjecture right now, there seems to be a lot of debate on whether or not that would actually work. And especially, there seems to be a back and forth with Jez Corden from Windows Central and Tom Warren from The Verge, because Jez Corden is like, if you think that you'll be able to buy Steam versions of PlayStation games on the next Xbox, you're crazy. There's no way that PlayStation would ever allow someone to do that. Just look at what happened with the GeForce Now. They had to find out the hard way. And then Tom Warren comes on, he's like, I don't know if those two things are necessarily related. GeForce Now is like a publishing thing. I don't know if PlayStation could actually enforce something like that, forbidding specific bits of hardware that run Steam not to be be able to download their games? It's an interesting question to ponder. But even if the next Xbox comes out, you're able to use Steam on it, Sony's like, nah, you can't play the Steam versions of PlayStation games on that next-gen Xbox of yours. That wouldn't necessarily be a big loss. Listen, if you're an Xbox fan and you want to play PlayStation games next generation, just buy a PlayStation, a PS5 Pro, base PlayStation 5, of PS6. If you're buying the next-gen Xbox, you're not doing so to get access to those few games that they've brought over to Steam. The real prize for customers would be Steam access, and that's it. Microsoft making sure that Steam is compatible for the next Xbox, if it is like a PC console hybrid, that's way more important than worrying about not being able to download PlayStation games on it. And that's important to the customer, but you know, the more I think about it, it's not probably top priority for Microsoft. Steam on an Xbox would be a great way to push hardware sales, get people to buy your box versus the others, but it also fundamentally undercuts the whole reason why these platform holders sell you a console in the first place. If someone makes a video game console, they want you to buy games through their storefront. That is the whole point of the thing. So if people buy these Xbox consoles that are like mini PCs that can run Steam, and then they just use it to buy Steam games, that's like a terrible scenario for Xbox. A console is subsidized by the games that people buy through the digital store or physical. Microsoft will want people to buy games through the PC Xbox app. A part of me wonders if they would try to make a deal with Steam. Like, hey, please, can we pretty please get an extra cut from every Xbox game sold through Steam? Pretty please. But then on the other end, if you're Steam, it's like, why would I do that? It's really interesting to see how a console like that, a theoretical console like that, would work. It sounds cool in theory, but it sounds like a lot of moving parts that they really need to get just right in order for them to make it happen. And while we're on the topic of PlayStation games on Xbox, let's flip the script a little bit, talk about Xbox games on PlayStation 5. Not too long ago on the channel, I talked about how Forza Horizon 5 was surprisingly topping the pre-order charts on the PlayStation Store in certain regions, but now it's climbed even further up the pre-order charts in the US, and it's joined by Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And that is right, we are living in this bizarro reality where some of the most anticipated games on the PlayStation 5 are published by Xbox. My mind is just being blown right now. If you traveled back in time, it told me this in like 2020, 2019, I would have never believed you. Because it's not that people are just buying the game, pre-ordering the game. They're pre-ordering the most expensive version, the premium versions of both of these games. Microsoft, Xbox, they gotta be ecstatic about that. Like, I'm sure these games sold well on Xbox and on Steam, but now they're getting a whole new wave of revenue. They're making a ton more money, and they're even pushing the premium options. After seeing thousands of people, probably millions of people play these games through Game Pass, not paying full price, I'm sure they're pretty stoked that the games are selling, even if it's on a rival platform. If they keep getting sales like this, if they keep generating interest like this on PlayStation with their games, they're gonna keep doing it. If they release these games and they flopped, no one bought them, they would be like, okay, time to figure something else out. And I know that Xbox fans, and I've certainly done my fair share of moaning and whining and complaining how we don't really want to see this, how we're not super excited. But hey, I also get that Xbox is a business, and if they want to continue existing, they have to continue to make money. And for better or for worse, they have identified that this is the best way for them to make money right now. All I ask is that they be transparent about it. What games are going to PlayStation or going to Nintendo Switch? Just what can we expect as fans, as consumers? Like, even if you're primarily PlayStation player, this is stuff that you probably want to know about too. When can I play Halo on PS5? Am I ever going to be able to do that? We don't really know, but Tom Warren, The Verge, they're also reporting that in 2025, there's going to be a lot more ports of Xbox games to the PlayStation 5, and maybe even announcements regarding these games showing up on the Nintendo Switch too. That is probably going to happen. That makes sense, given everything that Xbox has been doing over the past year or so. But we don't know what those games are. They keep flip-flopping over which ones get a PlayStation version and which ones don't. And while no one can say for sure, here's the criteria I think is most important to them. Games with a multiplayer component seem pretty high priority for Microsoft. They've seen tremendous success with Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6. When they dropped the PlayStation 5 version of Sea of Thieves, from my understanding, that game did really well too from a sales perspective. Multiplayer games like this, they need a big, engaged community in order to warrant further investment. And what better way to make sure that happens than by expanding the install base by making a PlayStation 5 version of the game? It seems like PlayStation has also caught wise to this. Sure, Helldivers 2 could have done pretty well if it was just a PlayStation 5 console exclusive, but having so where the game launched on Steam simultaneously and made sure that it went from doing pretty well to being a mega hit. That's why I'm convinced that we're gonna see Halo and Gears at some point making the jump to at least PlayStation. There's already been a lot of rumors suggesting that's exactly what's gonna happen, especially with Halo. Like, look at Halo Infinite. That was super dependent on the multiplayer portion. The multiplayer was supposed to be a 10-year game. They were gonna sell all of these skins, have all of these seasons, and just a couple of years in, they gave up on all of that. But we also know that Halo Studios, they're working on a couple of Halo projects. So maybe that includes a flagship multiplayer one that's going to be supported for many years to come, as well as some separate single-player experiences in that same universe. Well, what's confusing is that there are separate rumors saying that the Gears collection that's supposed to be coming out won't have a multiplayer if it comes to PlayStation. No matter what happens, I firmly believe, I think it is very likely we will see Halo and Gears on PlayStation 5. Maybe a few of the older games from either of those franchises on the Switch too. And a big reason for that is to make sure that they have a thriving, healthy multiplayer population. Other high priority games to be ported would be games that cost a shit ton of money. I bet they're chomping at the bit to make a PlayStation 5 version of Starfield. That game took forever and cost $1 bajillion to make. And while I'm sure it didn't do terribly in terms of sales or money made, I bet you anything that they want a lot more. They're probably kicking themselves for scrapping the PlayStation 5 version that Bethesda was working on pre-acquisition. And you know what? Probably any Bethesda published game is also going to come out on PlayStation 5. We're already seeing this with Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Doom: The Dark Ages. Bethesda were the ones that were like, hey, why don't we do multi-platform releases like Activision does, huh? They tried the exclusive thing with Redfall and Starfield. Those are outliers. I think going forward, we should expect pretty much every Bethesda game, and yes, that includes the Elder Scrolls 6. Yes, that includes the Oblivion remake that's supposed to come out. Those are all for sure gonna be on PS5. There's still a lot of questions though, like what's gonna happen with South of Midnight? We've seen these kind of AA and smaller games fly under the radar and not get PS5 ports. Hellblade 2 was exclusive. There were rumors saying that internally they were like, man, we should have made a PS5 version of this game. But that game apparently only had a budget of 10 million, so even if they didn't make a lot of money on Xbox, it's not like it was a catastrophic failure. It gets to the point where you gotta think, is this worth it to invest the money and the time in making a PlayStation version? They've already kind of done that with smaller games like Pentiment. I'm wondering if they're like, why did we even bother with that? Because that's such a niche, specific game. Fable, I'm about 80% sure that it's gonna make the jump. I would like to see some sort of exclusivity window like we saw with Indiana Jones, but we'll see. I don't know. That game also very hyped, very expensive. If all of the other historic Xbox franchises are going to make the jump, you know what? Why don't we just go all the way? Why not put Fable on there too? Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Help me on my journey to 200,000 subs. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.